G'day guys, Josh here. Welcome to another episode, or first episode of my new kind of content I'm trying to put up now called Lacking Financial Education, or LFE for short, because I'm sure in the future this is going to be absolute hell trying to type this in YouTube and trying to type a long episode name, okay? That's what it's going to be is today. So today on Twitter, I was looking on Twitter, I do follow some political people on Twitter as well, and well, I've seen some absolute pearlers in my lifetime of people who are absolutely lacking financial education, but this one's a bit local in Australia, so this is probably more for the Australian viewers only. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right away, this does not give any financial advice whatsoever. I am a qualified financial advisor, as you may not notice clearly without the suit or anything like that. I am an authorized rep. You can probably check that as well. But overall, I saw something on the weekend, today obviously, which is talking about the total super balances in super. Now, as you guys may know, they released the articles of, I think it's 2019, 2020, of all the people who have above 1 million in super, which I gotta say is a frighteningly little amount compared to what I was expecting, to be honest. I was expecting actually, to have almost 500,000, or not over 500,000, but over like 750,000 with 1 million super. But it's only, like I said, I think it's only, we'll get the article up quickly as well. It is really frighteningly low, okay? So, as you can see there was only under like 450,000 people with one over 1 million super, which means everyone else in Australia has under that amount, whether they're just kids or people starting work and stuff like that. And that is quite frightening given the fact that there's more than 450,000 people who are retired, which means people are either living off the age pension purely, or, there's a very small amount of people who are actually prepared for retirement. Now, this could consider the fact that the superannuation system was only introduced in 1990 and compulsory contributions were introduced during that. So, therefore, the people who were, retiring at that time didn't have any super to begin with. So, they're just living off the age pension, basically. And basically, we haven't gone through a cycle where a person has, started work at 18 and retired at 65 with the guaranteed superannuation guarantees going in there. But what I want to highlight how little people know about financial education. Now, I'll tell you a few things. This person obviously dispense, he works for Triple J. He's just trying to create a shock jock article, being like, oh my god, look at how many people have got so much money in super and stuff like that as well, to try to generate envy politics. And this is like a wedge, generally speaking, to create discussion about it, where they give very, very vague and answers and stuff like that as well, without giving any sort of background to the thing in question. Now, with superannuation, the hoo-ha that's been going on in the Labour camp has been, we need a cap on superannuation. We need to stop these people from getting the tax concessions, and we need to do it now. Now, the thing is that they've already put a tax on superannuation. Not a hard cap, but a soft cap, which will slowly become enforced over the next 20 and 30 years. So, put it simply, basically ScoMo in 2017 put in that you cannot put more than 1.6 million in superannuation with non-concessional contributions. So once you exceed that amount, you can't put any after-tax contributions, which is the bigger limit. So it's 100. You can put at the moment you can put 110,000 per annum as an NCC into super, but if you're over 1.6 or now 1.7, you cannot do that at all. So it's just how people had accumulated big balances previously because they put NCCs in because they need the money, but now they can't do that. The other one is that if you get over 1.7 million to super, you can only put 1.7 million into pension phase, which is the tax-free phase. However, superannuation is still taxed concessionally at 15% in accumulation, and you have no obligation to take it out. Now, that's where the big kerfuffle is at the moment, is that Labour want to have it now and be taxed at a higher tax rate rather than waiting 20 to 30 years. But overall, this hoo-ha about needing a cap and stuff like that is absolutely bullshit, and they know it's absolutely bullshit, but they go along with it because they need to keep the people incensed. Because if they just said, this won't occur for more than 20, 30 years, no one would really care. They would actually wait that 20 to 30 years. Now, I'm going to say right now, I won't be surprised, as you can see that screen there, that no one, see that 500 mil, 200 mil, and 524 mil, there'll be no one in that category. In fact, there'll be probably less people in the 5 million category, because what's going to happen over the next 20, 30 years is that those people in the top area have to pay out their super. Now, you'd be like going, wait a second, why did they have to pay out the super? Because when you die and you don't have a spouse or someone that you're dependent on, you can't take that as an income stream, okay? Now, you can only take a maximum of 1.7 mil at the moment in the income stream. The rest you have to take as a lump sum. So if that person with 544 million died, they can only give a maximum of 1.7 million as an income stream to their wife. That's not even taken into consideration if they have their own income stream. But generally, there's a strategy involved with it to make sure you keep 1.7 million, which is by putting your own income stream into accumulation and then inherit that income stream. But as you can see here, as I said, 1.7 million being the maximum. So that 544 million person will 542 million of it has to be taken out of super. You can't avoid it. You can't stay in super. So that's how it goes out. You can see just like that, bam, that person, that one person, 544 million super, gone. Bam. And they're back into the over 1 million section or over 2 million section. So you can see there that it's going to be very difficult in the future to have that amount of money in super, and that, a number's going to decline quite rapidly. And it's going to be a lot of people who are giving more than 2 million, maybe more than 5 million if they made good investments, or made more than 1 million. And somehow people make a politics of envy about it. So that's what it is, pretty much. This is why we need financial education. And you'll see this when we go through this thread, that holy moly, we do need it. Because people have no idea what they are talking about in regards to finance. And, I'm one of those believers that we need financial education in a high school, university, or someone. So let's get to our first comment, which is going to be Mr. Malk, okay? So Malk, when I read this guy's comments for the first time, I'm like, is this person actually for real? But let's just read through it. Obscene, clearly not to fund a lifetime retirement. Super should be capped at 5 million max. Obviously, Labour Party supporter, because they repeat that mantra. Tax rate of the above contribution should be 95%. If people just won't contribute to super, right? Like, people aren't fucking stupid, okay? If you've got $5 million in your super balance, you've probably made good decisions and got financial advice. And your financial advisor can be like, mate, don't put 5 million to super, just keep it. Now, he goes on to some tirade and stuff like that, and this is where it starts taking the cake, okay? This guy, bad motivator, takes the cake, okay? Massive rort for estate planning tax avoidance. Did someone not tell him that we did not have death duties? Okay, death duties don't exist in Australia. Now, the funniest part is about superannuation is that if you got money in superannuation and it's a taxable component and it's going to a non-tax dependent, it's taxed at 17% compared to being in your own hands where it's taxed at 0. So, in fact, you're not rorting the estate planning system. Obviously talking just estate planning. We're not talking about the income that's earned. We're talking about the estate planning system. You're not rorting the estate tax planning system by having your money in super. In fact, your children might actually have to pay tax unless you withdraw the entire amount out. So I think a lot of people need a good mental check and stuff like that. And this guy's like acting like, he's super smart and stuff like that. And I'm sitting here being like, mate, you don't know what you're talking about at all. And also, he quotes 10 years. You got to quote an entire 30 to 40 year cycle of the average return, which is actually 7 to 8%, because the Australian market has actually had a very good return over the last 10 years. If you guys have not noticed that as well. And a lot of people being like, mate, like, you have no clue, okay? Like, a lot of these are no clue and stuff like that. And someone actually suggested a 10 million max lifetime limit. Jeez. Gisby Weststate, man. That's all I'm going to say. If you don't know what Gisby Weststate is, they used to have a lifetime contribution limit of that 1.7 mil. But anyways. And this guy's going, 5 mil is not enough to get through your final 15 to 20 years in life. See, people really need financial education, okay? Really, not even kidding, okay? I can tell you right now, 5 million is enough to get through for 40 years of your life of not working, okay? Because it earns an income and you spend a lot less. And not to mention the income's tax-free as well, which a lot of people tend to forget. I actually covered this in Financial Fruits, where I think I'm not sure which episode it is, but like, you need a lot less income than you think you do in retirement, because all your income's tax-free. So you have to, some people go like, I need 80 grand to live because they had an 80 grand salary. It's like, not really. You only need 50 grand to live because most of it's paid out in tax. You actually be surprised at how much you actually pay in tax. But anyways, let's stop dunking on this guy, okay? Let's go to the next guy, okay? This is what I hate the most, okay? The people who are like, oh, to be honest, this is a bad investment, okay? That have no idea or no qualifications, okay? So someone goes, to be honest, if you had that much to play with, putting in Australian super is a pretty poor choice to make. I don't know what this person is on, given the fact that if you're in Australia, superannuation is one of the best investment vehicles, regardless, because you can get a 0% tax haven, and if you got over that amount previously, you got a 15% tax flat rate, a flat 15% tax. There is no investment vehicle in Australia that offers that amount. Now, if you're suggesting to go offshore to the Cayman Islands and stuff like that, literally violating so many laws and stuff like that you can't actually do, then you're missing the point. We're talking about legally here. Now, there's obviously illegally, which people do, and ethically dubious, which people do. But stating to people to not invest in superannuation as a poor investment vehicle is really clueless, okay? Because you get a 50% flat tax rate, which is better than a company, better than a family trust, better than a partnership, better than a sole trader, which is the four other structures you can have, by the way. Um, this is just silly. This is why we need financial education in our institution, stuff like that, where people are making these comments that are completely and utterly false. And there's one guy who's being sarcastic, and I do agree with Toby here. I agree, this dude has made some poor financial decisions over the year because he's got over 5 million super, okay? And I really need, like, these people really need some sort of financial education or advice. Otherwise, they wouldn't be saying stuff like this. Now, also, this guy as well, he tries to protrude himself as a doctor and stuff like that, and stuff like that. He's trying to act smart. It's pretty obvious. I mean, he goes, isn't this a statistical privacy breach? It isn't, because it's released by the ABS. It's not a breach at all. They're allowed to do it. It's all anonymous. It's all allowed. Um, that's why they do it for 5 years down the track, not now. This is why we're getting the 2019 to 20 figures instead of the 22 to 23 figures. Sorry, 3 years down the track. My fault. But they always go, there are better investment vehicles for that scale money than super. Surely. Well, name one. Like, this is the point. Name one. There's not. There's not very many unless you literally do something super illegal. Like, you got to suggest a company. No, that's not a good setup. What if you want more than the taxable income threshold out? Like, what if you need 200 grand for a house, 300 grand for a house, 500 grand for a house? You have to take the money out of company as a dividend, and bam, tax bill. With super, you can just take the money out, tax free. Don't have to worry about anything. I think a lot of people seem to forget the capital gains part, and someone may mention you get franking credits from corporate dividends as well when you get it back. However, if you have to take a lump sum out, there are, you have to take it out from the company. You pay tax because it's a dividend, and it gets a lot worse. Okay. Obviously, as you guys may know, as I said at the start of the video, none of this is financial advice. It's pure illustration purposes as well. So a lot of people got to realize this for the convenience. Superannuation is a lot better investment vehicle where you get a good concessional tax rate, which is better than company tax rate, by the way, corporate tax rate, and better than most tax rates in general. And I hate it when people try to do this I'm the smart one sort of crap, and they have no financial education whatsoever, because this is where financial education is sorely needed, because people make these statements who are completely and utterly wrong and don't understand the intricacies, the advantages and disadvantages of the supposed systems they are going to suggest. I don't know what system this guy is going to suggest. He hasn't really provided any, but when you look at all the trust setups like family trusts, where you try to split your tax liability, you probably pay more than you would if you just invested in super. Generally speaking. Next up, and it's like a lot of people are like, you don't know what you're talking about, and it's quite true. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Next one is the interesting one, because people quote this Australian Financial Review article that basically all these people above $5 million receive more tax concessions than the people who receive welfare. And I gotta say right now, that is utterly false, because welfare is 50% of those. I think welfare is like 53 or 63% that our taxes pay. And that is really, really false, because most of the taxes in the Australian tax system is paid by the middle class. It actually isn't paid by the upper class or lower class. It's paid by the middle class simply because there's more of the middle class than there is of the rich people and the 1% and stuff like that. And also, not to mention, the 1% get more financial advice, and some of the middle class don't get so much financial advice. So I found this figure quite alarming, because this is BS. Like, this is 100% BS. And I even did a quick calculation on that as well, okay? Because the reason why they don't print it and they don't see it is because it's silly. And some people engage in the argument, which is a bit ridiculous. So I got some stats on this one, okay? So I got this stats, okay? So we're going to highlight what it is here. So basically here, in that same year, they received 195.7 billion, okay? So I did some quick maths based on an average income of 7% over the last 40 years if you invested in Australian stocks. So this is obviously not including capital gains if you sell down any assets or anything like that. So I did a quick calculation on Excel. So you can see here, well, I'm not sure if it's very clear for you guys, you can see the number of people, and I put the maximum superannuation up for one person who's over 544 million. And we did the income, we did the tax at 49%, the maximum tax rate is what he wanted. And then we did the 15% tax rate, where, basically what it is at the moment that they receive concessionally. And we did that, and, look what we got. Doesn't make an iota of difference. And you know what we're going to do as well? We're going to total this one up, and then we're going to put it here instead. So we're going to put F6 or F5, and still makes no iota of different. So the maximum tax concessions that they receive is 28 billion, okay? 28 billion is the maximum that they receive, okay? So just be aware of that. So total welfare paid, as you can see here, that's 100. We'll just actually double check if that's 195 billion first of all, okay? So that's 195 billion, 700 million. Maybe you've added an extra zero, okay? Maybe you've actually extra zero. Let's just see. Let's just double check. Nope, that is 700 million. So we did 195 billion. So you can get lost in the zeros, trust me. So we did that calculation, and it didn't end up at all being any close, okay? Now you may be like, hey, let's times it by 40 years, okay? Let's times it by the average human life expectancy, which is, funnily enough, 85.57. It's somewhere in the 85s, okay? And now let's do that difference. Let's do that equation again. And it'll make a severe dent this time. But it doesn't, okay? Doesn't make a severe dent at all. And that's because it doesn't, okay? This is an absolute lie told by these people that more welfare, like to lower income households, is you could get it from that tax revenue. It's utterly false. Like, utterly false. It's wrong. And that person's, that AFR person should be really ashamed of themselves, because that's utterly false. You printed an utter falsehood that the welfare system can be funded by 128 people losing their tax concessions and super. Doesn't work like that. Now, someone may go, wait a second, you only calculated on 49% income, the income tax, the maximum income tax you can get taxed at. I'm like, yeah, and I also did the same for the 15%. It was only a rough estimate. And the rough estimate showed that it's nowhere bloody near the amount, the tax saving. It doesn't even break doesn't even break it. So it just doesn't work like that. Next up, we're going to go to this guy, okay? Which is going to be to Brendan Cotter, okay? So, again, all these people suggest, why do we not have a cap? If there's any financial education, people would have been alerted to the cap in 2017 when ScoMo legislated it for a soft cap to be done. And this guy explains the cap and stuff like that now, okay? And then he tries to backpedal, being like, what about the same thing? Stuff like that. And it's just like... this guy's basically telling this guy, mate, you're falling for the smoke and mirrors. So if you've complained about this 5 million over tax and stuff like that, you've completely fallen for the smoke and mirrors that Labour have sold you, okay? The reality is, everything that is needed to be there is now in place, because ScoMo made a big deal about this in 2017, where he basically said that superannuation is for retirement, it is not for building wealth, and he put this 1.7 million cap in to prevent people from contributing too much in the super of the after-tax money, but at the same time, if they wanted to keep employed, that they can put some of their concessional contributions into it up until 75. And they've also introduced all these other schemes as well, that people can put more money into super and save up contributions if they have low balances. Now, I'm just really flabbergasted, and this is why financial education is needed, because we get pointless threads like this, where it's clearly just breeding envy politics. Last but not least, this is the last message I want to come out for, okay? Is by Brendan Vade. Of course, I agreed with it, because this is the entire thread in general, is that the general understanding of tax, super, investment, or retirement principles is woefully low, mainly because most of the financial advisors are leaving the industry, and the superannuation system is largely successful, has grown too complex, and it isn't helping point one. And I do agree with that, given the fact now, since 2017, when they've introduced too many new rules and downsides and stuff like that, there is about a goddamn labyrinth to get your head around. And they did make it simpler back in 2007, but now it's getting to that point where it's complex again. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for tuning in for the full 20 minutes. I really, really appreciate you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, please share it around. I'll probably post it on Twitter as well. And I hope you guys have a great day. See you guys later. Peace out. Bye.